very challenging project, but probably one of the most complete that I've done in a way, just because it's so easy to explain. You know, it's just a pig. Everyone knows what that is, from my 2-year-old son to his grandmother. And I think that immediately that then allows people to talk about maybe some of the ideas or their reactions to the music or the context or the controversy or whatever it is, rather than me having to spend hours explaining it all. I wasn't allowed to record the killing of the pig by the abattoir, and the Guardian ran a small little piece about it somehow, just picked up on the blog that I was doing about it, and then suddenly I had like the Sunday Times news desk and just suddenly calls from all around the world sort of picking up on this, and then of course that turned into PETA sort of condemning the record before they'd even heard it, and condemning the process, and sort of condemning me and everything about it. For me, I was upset to begin with, and then I was excited, just thinking, wow, people are frightened by a piece of music, and that to me was, or challenged by a piece of music, and a piece of music that didn't even exist yet. And so for me, that felt like, regardless of whether the music was any good or what I ended up doing with it, that felt like a new thing for me, in as much as, you know, I'm always trying to prod things with my music. I'm always trying to make things a little difficult for myself and possibly others. And particularly if you look at the classical tradition, you look at Mahler, or you look at Beethoven, you look at these symphonies, or Shostakovich, or Stravinsky, or Debussy, there's this real sense of spiritual life, you know. And for me, they've spent years like thinking about these big questions about what happens to us after we die, and what the meaning of life is in that context. And we've got completely different tools now. I can go and record death, and I can go and record Syrian revolution, people being murdered, and turn that into a piece of music. And so that's a fundamental shift. Music's no longer impressionism, it's now also documentary. Wishmountain was pretty much the first time I'd expressed my real kind of musical voice, I guess, which is when I first bought a sampler. I sampled an Apple Crunch, and to me that felt new and exciting and different and challenging. I had a Casio FZ1 sample, and it just had 8 outputs. So I was like, okay, I'm going to take 8 sounds from this object and send each of those sounds out of those 8 outputs, and then just write the piece of music out of those 8 noises. And it was like a magic trick. It was trying to get people to dance to the sound of a pepper pot, or a VHS cassette player without plugging it in, or a radio or without turning it on. And so it was very much a sort of document of objects around me, and it was about animating inanimate objects, but doing so in a seductive way, in a way designed to make people dance, and a way to reimagine dance music as well, because at that point, believe it or not, I was pretty fed up with the 909 and 808 drum machines. You know, I'd heard them for years. By 1990, it was like I'd heard thousands and thousands of records with an 808 and a 909. And as a side note, I can't believe we're here, you know, 22 years later, still listening to those same bloody noises. I wanted to do something about supermarkets for a while, just because they kind of are such an everyday part of our life now, and yet they're inscrutable in many ways. You know, we have very little genuine interaction with them, other than simply just to buy the things in them or not. You know, that's the only interaction that we have with them. But I didn't want to get into, at this stage, I didn't want to get into a big supermarket piece, so I really liked the idea of just calling a record Tesco, and just sort of taking the name of Tesco and just using it. It felt, you know, we have so much power, we so rarely use it. You know, as musicians, we could call our pieces of music "I hate the fucking Olympics," or "I hate the fact that Dow Jones is sponsoring the Olympics," but we don't. We call it like Pyramid X or something. You know, it's sort of incredibly abstract nothingness. You know. So in the end, I just thought, okay, well look, let's just take the top 10 selling items in Tesco and make a record out of them. And that's literally all I did. I did it in 4 days. So from start to finish, it's designed first and foremost to be a reanimation of an object in a different context. That's all it's supposed to be. So I like the fact that Andrex doesn't sound really like toilet roll. That's not what I intended, but that's what it's come out. That's what it's come out at. And having those restrictions as well, just having restrictions of 8 noises and working like that. Also, it's been, I've been doing it 20 years now, so it's sort of like felt like reforming, like all these bands that get together from the past. So I've reformed myself for a record. The most obvious shift that's happened over the years is basically it was very tidy, very ordered, quite sparse, and very absolutely precise when I first started. And now it's messy. Now my music's very messy. And I think that reflects my experience, which was, I set out making records as most people do, I presume, which is with a naivety and with enthusiasm and with thinking that you're expressing something meaningful about yourself or your experience. But I guess an accumulation of experiences makes you realise that the world is messy and difficult, and just even trying to record this interview, you have a door coming with an incredible squeak to it, and above us these light bulbs, which I think are beautiful, making this really great sound of them chinking next to each other. That's and then footsteps. It's life. Life it's never quiet and it's never ordered, and you can never control it. You can maybe control little bits of it in ways that you think, but an airplane might land on us in 10 seconds. Let's hope it doesn't.